We're back, everybody.
It's season 3.
Season 3.
Yes.
Caleb has a new mug. I just got my Ember mug out, and it's sitting on my desk.
Nice.
How
has it been working for you?
It was very dirty because I clearly left like some coffee at the bottom, and so it was like really gross. So, and I was like, I wonder how long it's going to take to get like normal water temperature up to, I don't know, 140, 145, whatever it is. It took a while.
So you just put the water in and let the thing
Yeah,
heat
I was
up?
just like, I'll like let it cook.
That'll drain the battery so fast. That's why I retired my Ember mug, which I had for years and years. But the thing with Ember is if you don't have the battery, the actual cup is not insulated at all.
No.
So if the battery's not working well, it doesn't hold a charge, it's the worst mug.
Yeah, it's a terrible cup.
At all.
I also am
now I have a Yeti.
Always surprised.
Or wait, what is this? Not a Yeti. What is this? Oh, how do you even say that? A mirror?
Yeah.
Something.
Knockoff Yeti.
Yeah. Knockoff Yeti. It works.
Dollar General of
insulated mugs.
Yeah, except it's an Amplio cup. So
that's right.
I guess we don't do those anymore.
That's right.
Also the thing about the Ember mug is like it is very very thick at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of like fake filling. You know, like when you go to the grocery store and you buy a drink or something. You're
I think
like,
that's
oh,
the
this
battery,
is huge.
dude.
And then like you reach up underneath the cup and you're like, dude, there's a lot of space up there that they're like hiding and making you feel like there's a lot of room in there, but there's not.
Interesting. Well, you all should send us your favorite mugs. I love a mug that keeps my coffee hot for like 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
You know?
I've been drinking a lot of tea at night again. Do you like tea?
I can honestly say I do not like tea.
So like every night.
Yeah, no. I'm just gonna say no.
I can't remember what this was. So like Uline. Uline is like local here up in, I think it's like Gurney or something like that. And we bought it. I don't know what it was. We bought a bunch of stuff here. And Charlie was like, here's a Uline mug that they shipped because they always send you like, it's like the Sweetwater candy, but they sent me a Uline mug and it's like my favorite mug at home. It's a Yeti one. So I have tea in it every night. And I'll like boil water and it like sleepy time tea. It's so good. If you don't, if you don't like it, it's fantastic. But so I'm also like terrible about like, I love bringing so many different kind of beverages like to my bedroom when I'm going to bed. So I have like a water, I might have a sparkling water, and then I might have some tea.
Nice. And a ghost.
And no ghost
like
at night.
Bedtime ghost.
I do.
Yeah.
Ghost.
Yes.
Ghost.
Sponsor us, Ghost.
Sponsor us. And so I was I don't know what I was watching. I was watching something and I was like kind of propped up like in my bed watching something on TV. My wife was asleep. And I had this Yeti mug and I had the lid on it.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's piping hot coffee or tea. And I don't know what it was. I was just like sitting like this and it fell over on my on me and spilled all over like my neck and my chest. And it was so hot. And I was literally like, oh my gosh. And my wife woke up just like terrified. And I was like, I just spilled hot coffee everywhere. And it felt like a horrible sunburn. And then I was like on ChatGPT going, what is the temperature of 2nd-degree burns? And it was for sure a 2nd-degree burn, but it healed up pretty quick.
That's fun.
But it was very hot.
What a fun tangent. We did not expect to be going on this tangent at the beginning of season 3, but since you told that story, I have a great coffee spill story that all of you listening will just love. I was visiting a church in lovely Des Moines, Iowa, and I had flown in and I was about to drive about an hour outside the city to get there. So I stopped for some Panera coffee, right?
Okay.
And sip on some coffee on my way. So first mistake was I got the hazelnut.
Oh, that's gross.
Which I always think I'm going to like.
I remember the story.
I think I'm going to like it. And then I get it and I'm like, this is not, I don't know, why did I get this? So I'm going through the drive-thru and they hand me my coffee. It's a large because I'm like, I'm going to drive for an hour. I want a lot of coffee. It's the largest cup. As I'm bringing it in the window, the cup catches on the door jamb and it flips the lid off the coffee and then I lose it and it dumps in my lap. So now I'm sitting in, like, no joke, 2 inches of piping hot hazelnut coffee in the driver's seat of this rental car. So that was fun. That was real fun and real hot.
And it's the smelliest coffee.
Oh, I smelled like, exactly. That was the biggest issue was I smelled like hazelnut coffee the whole day.
It's honestly a horrible smell.
It was horrible.
It's like, you know, when you go to the grocery store and you like go to the coffee aisle. So like I don't know if you go to like Woodman's or anything around here.
I love
like,
Woodman's.
Like the aisle, and I don't buy that coffee, but like, you know, like it's like the whole
grinders,
food. Yeah, the Whole Foods containers or whatever. And it always just like the entire aisle smells like some weird hazelnut coffee that's like really like, you know, the beans that are like super oily and green. Like you're like, that shouldn't look like that. Like I know what good beans look like and they don't look like that. Yeah, hazelnut. Yeah, it's really gross.
I've heard that 7-Eleven has a blueberry coffee. Never tried it.
Okay.
But
so there is years ago.
I'm loving this episode. This episode is amazing.
It's great. Years ago, when like Keurig first came out, and every family was like, guys, we're gonna buy Keurig coffee. We never have to make another pot of coffee again. There's a brand that's still around, Green Mountain Coffee.
Oh yeah.
It's actually not that bad.
Green Mountain.
And they make a blueberry coffee. Okay, it sounds so terrible. It is, I'm telling you, one of my favorite coffees still today, like ever. And
but they only make it as a Keurig cup, or can you buy it as a
I don't know
bag?
I've never actually tried. I should probably try
because
it's quite good. Everybody who's like a coffee snob is like, you guys.
Somebody
are
out there, if you've had blueberry Green Mountain coffee,
it's really
let us know.
Really stinking good.
Let me know if I should try it, if I should not listen to Kaleb at all, because it sounds.
I was making coffee last week at home, and I was like, I really wish that I had some blueberry coffee right now. And it just is like, it's like very, very subtle. Drink it black. Like it's not anything fancy. And it's not like, what's the brand that's like everybody gets the creamers that's at every church green room.
Coffee Mate.
Yeah. It's not that. Like that's what I think people expect when I say that. I'm like, I promise you, it's not like the French vanilla or hazelnut flavored Coffee Mate. It's just like, it's very, very subtle. It's very, very good.
All right. Well, I've never had a blueberry coffee. I will have to try one at some point.
I like berry flavored most things.
No.
Really?
Not coffee.
Well, I don't know. It's not like that. Trust me.
I will find I don't know that I trust you, but I will try it.
If anybody listening has had it, please
tell me that I'm wrong and that I should have the blueberry coffee.
I bet I could buy it on Amazon.
Yeah, ship it here. Let's go.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, so now now that we're here and started this episode,
man,
deep in, we're a little bit into the New Year's.
Yeah, it's 2025. Crazy.
We're here.
We haven't sat at this table and done this for a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
It felt like it was like Christmas-ish was like just yesterday, but it's actually like quite long ago now. It feels.
Yeah.
And it's cold here, and I snowblowed this morning. We were
just lamenting. Yeah, we've got a bunch of snow in Chicago, and we were just lamenting the other day that snow days are a thing of the past,
dude.
Because they closed my kids' school, but they still had school because everyone just did e-learning.
I was really hoping they closed my kids' school, and they didn't. But it's like around Valentine's Day, and so they like all the kids were like, I don't want to miss my Valentine's party. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So they were like actually happy they went to school. But yeah, I very specifically didn't like shovel or snowblow last night because I'm like, well, plows are going to come and I'll just do it in the morning. And so then I woke up and I was like, dang it, I didn't do it last night. I told myself I was going to do it in the morning. Now I'm going to do it. And I also realized that I hadn't gotten new gas. Now I put the like stable, in the stuff because my snowblower is like a oil and gas mix or whatever. And I was like, well, I hope it still is good. And then I spent 40 minutes this morning getting the snowblower started.
You could have shoveled your whole driveway in that amount of time.
I could have shoveled me and my neighbors on both sides, but I was like, nope, I'm going to do it in my snowblower. And I eventually got it going, but I had to like take the carburetor apart. And
you did that all this morning? Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
You know what I did this morning? I said, I'm not going to worry about this. And I just drove out of my snowy driveway and left it.
So I feel really like our bus stop is like right next to our house. And I always feel really bad in the morning, like watching all of these families walk their children
through the snow,
through my sidewalk. And all I'm thinking of is don't slip and fall or sue me because I didn't.
What a 6. I never had that thought in my entire life. Never.
Dude, risk management is my Enneagram 6 life. So yeah, I went out there. I don't salt though. I don't like tracking salt back into the house. It drives me crazy. And it destroys your driveway.
All of you listening in sunny places right now,
Yeah, I could go for a church visit in Arizona right now.
San Diego.
Florida, San Diego. Oh man, San Diego's
Something like
really
that.
awesome. Yeah, Matt's flying out to San Diego right now.
Nice.
Just for fun.
Just for fun.
Yeah, he had like a United, I don't know, travel credit, and he was like, I have to use this before the end of the year. Or
Must be hard.
Yeah, must be terrible.
Must be hard.
Yeah. So that was this morning. So I don't know, my arm is sore because I was pulling the stupid thing because my snowblower is an absolute piece of crap. It's an absolute piece of crap.
So sorry.
But new snowblowers are really expensive.
That is true.
They're
That's why
really
I just
expensive.
shovel. I don't have a snowblower. I just shovel.
And I know that the year that I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it, I'm going to go buy a $700 snowblower. It's going to sit for 2 years, and I'm not going to use it at all.
Because there are years, believe it or not,
No
where
snow.
we don't have hardly any snow.
Nope. I used my snowblower once last year.
Yep.
And so every year I go, that's why I don't buy a new one.
Yep.
I'll buy a new lawnmower because I got to mow once or twice a week in the summertime. Yeah, I could go for some lawn mowing right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, that is
So that's what we're dealing with.
what I've been up to.
But we're about to launch into a whole new season of conversations, which is going to be amazing. And we've got, I don't know, a ton of guests. My calendar is filling up with all of our conversations coming up here in the next few months.
It is definitely filling up fast.
Which is going to be awesome. Yeah, it's been cool to see how the podcast has evolved over the last, I don't know, year plus.
No,
we've been doing this.
We've been
3 seasons.
We've been probably recording for a year.
Yeah,
we launched.
Yeah,
May of last year,
something like that.
Yeah,
and I think you said in the first episode, like, hey, we don't really know exactly how this is going to go or where we're headed or where it's going to take us, but it's been a fun journey and kind of, I feel like revealed to me a little bit kind of over time in the conversations, clarified, okay, what is this and how does it work and what is it structured around as far as the threads that go through the different conversations with guests? But
they, it has been really interesting because I think like a lot of people have very, like when you look at the churches that they're on staff at, like they're all very similar style or size or like, I think just a bunch of these guests that have been there or they were in previous ministry contexts that were of, like similar from the outside looking in. But then you hear their story and you're like, oh, that was their experience, the things that they had to deal with or their role or whatever it was is very different. And I think was very insightful into, what that looks like. And
well, you mentioned story there, which I think, well, I think about the way this podcast has sort of solidified, like that's the theme that I see is like each of the conversations, it's really structured around hearing someone's story.
Yeah.
What brought you into your ministry role? What were some of the key formative experiences or things that you went through that have shaped how you view the church or your ministry now, or how you see yourself fitting into your team currently, or things that you're working on going forward? And like all of those things are elements that we're hearing someone's story and how they got to where they are now, but there's always principles and learnings and themes that you can draw out and apply outside of their context. And the learnings that come out of those conversations are just, really interesting and oftentimes really powerful. So really like the fact that it's a conversation, or, the podcast is a series of conversations structured around what are we gleaning and learning from people's stories. I couldn't have told you that day one at all. No. I would never have framed it that way when we kicked this thing off, but it's been cool to see that become a constant and also, I think something that allows the impact to be a lot beyond the technical space. And when I say technical, I mean like how to be a better production person or worship person or staff person at a church. But we've had conversations that have been so much more into like personal health or your relationship with your family or just all of these things that are part of a holistic person's life. And so it's not this sort of hyper-focused technical conversation. It's really much more emotional and spiritual and, emotional intelligence and all this kind of stuff.
I was talking to somebody just the other day and I was like, we were catching up. We hadn't caught up in, I don't know, probably 5 months, 6 months. And they were asking me just like, what's going on in our lives. And I think one of the things that I don't know where I was on vacation or something like that a couple of years ago. And I remember like my wife and I talking about like we were watching some crowd. I don't know. We love crowd watching or people watching. And like thinking about like how every single person has like they all have a family, they all have their story, they all have their crap that they're dealing with right now. And when you think about it like that, and you're just like, oh man, like this isn't just I say all that to say, the guests that we've had, like they all have their own stuff that they've been doing, not just in ministry. It's not even just their thing. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, I have this going on in my personal life, or my parents died, or my blah, 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 whatever that looks like. And I think, it's been insightful for me to think about that and go, oh man, everybody's like still dealing with life and all of the things that life throws at them, like as they're going through their season of ministry or becoming a student pastor to a senior pastor over the course of 10 years. Like lots of life happens in the middle of that. And I think I was telling that person, I was like, I'm 32 years old and I feel like I'm having like midlife crises of like just so many, random things that are going on in our lives, and going, man, how does the rest of the world continue to do ministry? And, when I was on staff at a church, all this stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been really good to have those conversations with people, and I'm excited for a bunch of the people that we have scheduled to record with us.
Absolutely.
And I'm stoked for that.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And I think it's very relatable, because wherever you're at in your personal life, like it humanizes people that are, if you're just seeing from afar or seeing their work or seeing social or whatever, naturally there's a sort of veneer of whatever image or, put togetherness. And like you said, whether it's a stranger that you see or someone at a church that you look up to, like they've all got their story and their journey and their ups and their downs. And
yeah,
you're doing okay. If you're listening and you're like, man, what am I even doing?
Surviving.
Yeah, you're doing okay.
It is so funny. Like I've thought a lot, just like personally lately, of like, how does the rest of the world, like my kids get off the bus at 2:40 every day, and I'm like, how does the rest of the world like function? Because we are two working parents that have full-time jobs, and we have like, that's the middle of my work day. Like it is, and I'm just like, how do we do that? How do my kids get off the bus and survive? Because it's chaos as soon as like if I'm working from home, it's like, okay, well, what's going to happen? Or I have to be very careful of what meetings I'm scheduling during that time to go, oh, I'm very sorry, my children are ripping each other apart upstairs right now, so very sorry for whatever you hear or don't hear, because those are all the things that are happening to all of us. And it's super interesting. But it's been a fun season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You were asking, I think we were chatting a little bit ago, like what are the things in the 2 seasons we've done that are sort of the challenges that have been consistent? And when I say challenge, I don't mean like the hard thing you're going through, but the challenge to us and to the listeners of like, hey, here's how to move ahead from these conversations, or the thing to take away. And we've just hit on it so many times, but I always reflect when I think about the podcast on like how humility has been the driving theme almost every conversation that we have around whatever the situation is with the learning, or whether it's how to deal with a team, or how to reflect on your own self, and like how do you continue to grow. Like that also probably, day one, I don't know that I would have identified that as like the constant theme in our conversations, across all these different disciplines and church ministry experiences, like becoming a person of humility and like inquisitiveness and curiosity. Like I think that has been just a really impactful and prevalent theme that we've seen again and again.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was telling my therapist last week how like I personally have always chased whatever the next thing is, but then when I get to that next thing, I look backwards and I want the thing that I just had. Always, my whole life, I've always done that. And it's been interesting too, like in these conversations, to hear people and how they've figured out how to be content in their seasons of in the roles that they're in. Or I go, my gosh, you've been there for 10 years. How did you do that? Cause I was never on staff. My longest stint was 5.5, almost 6 years. And it was like, that felt like a lifetime. So I look at these people and I go, oh my gosh, how are you doing that?
Yeah.
And finding contentment in the seats that they're in ministry, and like the curiosity and being like, oh, I'm going to continue to make myself better. Some of the conversations were just, we've talked about like just continuing to work on yourself while you're in the middle of that, and how ministry is actually an amazing place that you can work on yourself. And it's like, people want you to do that. Leadership wants you to do that. And you're given permission to, and time and resources to go do those things. And we don't always like take them up on that offer. And I think of all the spiritual retreat days that I would get once a month, and I just wouldn't do them. I'm like, that's fine. Or I'd use them as a day off and do nothing, or do housework. And I'm like, that's not the same. Yeah. So, I think it's been cool to do that. And I think the other thing that I feel like I heard a lot of is either keeping healthy culture that you have in your church, or working on how do I make this culture healthier than where we are right now. Because I could pick up the phone and call the first 10 people in my phone book who are, in ministry staff, and we could talk about their culture of the things that they're dealing with. And like the resounding feedback is always like, oh, we're dealing with blank, or we're dealing with blank person, or this toxic thing, or whatever it is. And so much of this, especially in like large church space, is even just like more prevalent. So I think having lots of conversations around that, I think has been really interesting for me. And, misery loves company. So when you have one person.
Well, it's not just large churches. I talk to a lot of small churches, and I come away thinking, you guys don't need to upgrade this or that or the other thing. You guys need to all go see therapists and work out your interpersonal situation, because that will take you a lot further than, it's a thing.
Yeah. I think it was maybe around like Christmas time. I love, have you seen Band of Brothers?
Like
HBO?
a million years ago.
Oh yeah. You should watch it again, because it's freaking awesome. It is like one of my all-time favorite docuseries. And if you haven't watched the Pacific side of it, so the Pacific is the other 10 episodes of it. So good. And so then I got on a whole like World War II like kick, and rewatched every amazing World War II documentary or
Dan
movies.
Carlin.
Hardcore History?
Yeah.
So good.
Oh, dude. Okay.
So good.
That's
6
a
and a
plug
half
for all
hour
of you.
episodes.
If you're listening, go look up Hardcore History. It'll be change your life.
It is quite amazing. I haven't gotten into any of his. He has a couple of like World War II ones. I feel
World War One for sure.
World War One for sure. I don't know if he actually did get into two.
I don't know that he did.
I haven't listened to that. I'm still like in the middle of
he just dropped the new
Persian.
One. Oh, that's great. That's a great one.
Yeah, it's really good. I don't know where I was going with that.
You're getting into World War II.
Yeah. And maybe it was a different movie, or it was in Band of Brothers, but I'm thinking it was in Band of Brothers. And these guys in this foxhole who are like in Bastogne, and they're freezing. They've been there for months in the middle of the winter, and their like mental health is going crazy. And some of these guys are like literally cracking. Like they're just like, their mental health is going crazy. They start screaming, all this stuff in the middle of the night. And I remember in this episode, like one of the officers comes up to this guy. He's like, you got to shut up. Like you're going to get us all killed, blah, blah, blah. And this he starts yelling about like how we're all going to die out here, and basically just like yelling. And so all of the rest of this company is hearing this guy talk about his misery and everything that he's thinking. And he's like, that is going to spread so quickly to the rest of the team. And so you have to go back to the back of the line for, a couple of days and recover and go get a hot meal and a shower or whatever. And all I could think about in that moment was just like, how many times have I been in a church context that like, whether it was one person, is like it so quickly can spread to so many different people. And that's like every other context you can think of. And I'm taking it in the most extreme context of war, of people actually dying, versus like you're not dying in your church to experience that. However, like toxicity spreads like so quickly. And so I'll be interested to like hear from some of the guests that we have coming up on some of that stuff because some of the guests that we have experienced some really difficult situations and hearing their story about it. But yeah, if you haven't seen Band of Brothers, you need to watch it. This is so good. It's so good. Do you know that they, I think it was, no, it was actually Saving Private Ryan, but every like documentary or movie that Tom Hanks produces, which is Band of Brothers, The Pacific, Saving Private Ryan, like they spent so much money on explosives in the movie, and I can't remember which one it was, but I think that they spent so much money in the beginning of Saving Private Ryan at Beaches of Normandy than the entire series of Band of Brothers, or vice versa. I don't remember what it was, but it's really good.
Good to know.
It's great.
Brush up on that.
Yeah.
Nice.
So anyways, where else were we going with this?
Well, I was going to say the other thing that has been cool is to kind of hear from people that are listening. As how the conversations have impacted them. I've heard from people that have been listening as a team to kind of reflect on different conversations in their context. So that's been cool. So if you have examples of conversations that have been impactful to you, or things that have stood out to you in your context, or things that have challenged you, and like you've actually been able to make some steps in a positive direction, like we love to hear about that. It's really cool to see actually these conversations spread in the wild and have impact on teams. And
it is very interesting to, I think, have seen that and heard some of that feedback, because it's easy for like you and I to sit at a table in Chicago and just like have a conversation and go, oh, I didn't realize that was like actually gonna impact literally anybody listening.
Yep.
And I think one of the, like, we got some feedback, I think in the last episode that we did around Christmas, of like asking like, oh, hey, what things, what topics should we try to dive into in this next season? And one of the things was basically like, how do I spiritually pastor and mentor my, whether it's staff or volunteers, in a better way? Specifically, like this person who was emailing us was in a production role at a church and just going, how do I actually spiritually develop my team? And I think that there's this, I've had this perspective before of like this, oh gosh, what's it called? I literally just said it this morning, imposter syndrome, of like, can I actually do that? Am I in a seat that I could actually lead and or pastor my team? Because you don't like, I didn't think that when I first started in production, and realizing like, oh my gosh, I have to like spiritually develop or pastor people, or I have the authority, or that I should be doing that regardless of if somebody's asking me to do it or not. And so I will be interested to, I think, chat some more about that, because the amount of times that I didn't really realize that I was in a position of authority, regardless of where I actually looked on an org chart, like still to these volunteers or this 40 people team or whatever that is, like there's like, just like we're saying, everybody has lives that they're going through. And if the only thing that I cared about is them walking in, on time and sitting in front of ProPresenter and making sure they hit their stuff on time, like, we don't know what's going on with their family or their lives or their jobs or, whatever else is, kind of happening. And some of my best relationships with volunteers that I still have today from previous churches I was on staff at were all because, we dove into their life and the things that they were dealing with and caring about. And so how do you take that outside of just a relational context and like actually be able to pastor and call people into something higher than just production or playing guitar on a Sunday and leading worship or, whatever that looks like. So that was good feedback. And I will just say, on the topic of feedback, if you have other feedback that you guys would like to hear, or topics, because we have a handful of slots left to fill in this kind of next season of recording, the guests that we haven't kind of found or locked in yet. And if there's a theme or something like that, like we would love to hear that from you, because honestly, like if it's just Kaleb and I talking about blueberry coffee and Band of Brothers,
the feedback we're going to get on this episode is, guys, stop talking so much about coffee.
Dude, then it probably wouldn't be helpful, and or like kind of worth what we're doing. But I think, our whole goal is to be able to be a resource and a shot in the arm of adrenaline to go, hey, I can do it for another day.
Yeah.
Because we've all been in these different seats, and whether it's the guests.
Well, I think about what you just shared about the hallmarks of relationships that you have had over the years that carry on to this day are because you guys in those contexts like were a part of each other's stories, and you heard each other's stories, and you related on that level of shared experience and hearing, what's really happening in someone's life. And so if we think about, this podcast as a platform or a vehicle for a broader community, then it totally makes sense that the thing that's going to shape and draw that community together and encourage that community is hearing people's stories and people relating to each other's stories and finding common ground and finding encouragement that way. So as I think about season 3, again, like I think that's so much of what it is hearing stories, learning from each other, being encouraged, both hear things that I can continue to develop in myself and grow in. One thing that sticks with me is I think it was our conversation with Nikki around seeing shortcomings in what you're doing now or things that you want to get better at and not thinking about it as I'm so bad at this, but thinking about it as like I'm excited to get better at this and grow in my abilities or my capacity. Like creating that kind of culture and that kind of space where the conversations we have aren't conversations that lead people to think like I am failing and I'm not doing good in my role or in my ministry, but that are invitational and encouraging to say, hey, these conversations help me see the path forward that I can take to be more effective, more healthy, have more longevity, and wherever I'm at.
Yeah, and I think it was actually like Nikki called me last week just to catch up and see how things were going, and I probably haven't talked to her since maybe the podcast. I don't know I don't know the last time I actually had an in-depth conversation with her. And she was just calling to check in, and it was so funny because she I was filling her in on my life and casting the kids and all the things that we've kind of been doing and dealing with and stuff like that. And she was so she was mad that I hadn't called her to just check in. And she wasn't really mad, but she was just like, dude, why didn't you why did it take 5 months for us to reconnect or talk about any of these things? Cause I would have loved to been praying for you or to just know how things are going on in your life. So in the same way that it took her 5 months later to call me for me to share that information. I could have also spilled that information or just been like, hey, here's the things that I'm dealing with and whatever it is. And for me, it's, not eating gluten anymore and all of the things that I love in life.
Wait, you don't eat gluten anymore, Kaleb?
I don't.
What?
I sure don't.
No.
It sucks.
Yeah.
I want
we'll leave that as a teaser, and over the rest of season 3, people can get little snippets of your gluten journey.
You will just hear me complain about some cardboard meal that I had.
So tune in the next few episodes to hear more of that.
Dude, yeah. If somebody's a smart person, go find a cure for celiacs and, or just send me good food that I like and that would taste good. That would also be equally the same to me. But yeah, anyways, I'm sharing that story with, Nikki and just all the stuff that I've been going through. And it just made me think about, as you're saying that, the amount of times that how many times do I need to go out and check in with somebody, not just to fill them in on my story, but to go, what is actually happening in yours? Cause it took 5 months of somebody else to call me to share that.
That's so good. It's like giving people permission. Cause hopefully people have a right-sized view of themselves, which, often can mean that we err on the side of not sharing things because it's just life, it's nothing, I'm not dying, it's nothing, it's not a big deal, and you just kind of continue on.
Yeah.
But when someone gives you permission to share,
yes,
it's like, oh wow, actually that was really valuable, or people, it reminds you that people are interested in hearing.
Dude, totally. And I it's a little bit of a tangent, but same thing happened. Adam Skidmore, who was on an episode with us early on in maybe the first season, we call each other every couple of weeks or maybe once a month at the least. And I was just filling him in. He's kind of been around for, or knowing what has been going on. And it had been like maybe before Christmas. So it was a longer catch up. And I love Adam, man. I hate that he moved. But he's like, dude, can I pray for you? And he's, I don't know if you've ever prayed for somebody on the phone, but it's always humbling experience to be like, oh man, I forget that you can do this. And then I was talking to a buddy a couple days later, and he was just sharing some stuff that's going on in his life. And I'm like, oh man, I should probably do that for you. And so we did that. And the amount of like freedom that you can have even from chatting with somebody on the phone can be absolutely fantastic. And I would encourage anybody listening to go, man, pick up your phone and go through your contacts from A to Z and go, who are the people that I haven't checked in with in a long time? And it doesn't need to be an hour-long conversation, but a 10-minute, like, dude, how are you? How is your life? And a couple weeks ago, I think we're gonna have Stan Endicott on the one of the episodes coming up, and who's Sarah Emerson's dad, who we had last season. And he was telling me about this new thing that he's doing. And he's like, I made, over the course of a year, he said he made 900 and something calls to people that were in his phone because of this new like thing that he's starting up. And I was just like, are you serious? And he's like, yep. And all of these things that came out of that for him was the only reason why this new adventure that he's doing and starting is getting off the ground, because of the phone calls that he made. And not to go, hey, can you help me do this? But just go, how are you? Mm-hmm. And as people checked into him and what he was doing with his life, he's like, oh, I'm starting this thing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh my gosh, well, I know blank person and would love to help you with this or whatever. And he was just telling me that. I'm like, are you serious? Like, that's crazy. That's also sounds awful and exhausting. But
900 is a lot. You could probably start with like 100 in your context, you know?
Start with 50.
Yeah. One a week, you'll probably be fine.
Totally.
You'll be ahead of most people. I'll tell you that.
Yes. Yeah. But man, I told him when he was telling me that, and he was explaining that, in his thing that he's starting, and I'm just like, there's never been a job that I have ever taken that didn't come from a person that I knew, or that knew or connected me with blank person. Like every single one was never hey, I'm going to go apply for this job and I know nobody there. It's hey, I know blank church is hiring. I know blank company's hiring. I know blah, blah, blah. Or it's somebody at the organization, that has done that. And I just go, man, like relationships is the only way that I think, number one, God has designed us to do life with one another, but then also just like, that's how so many new opportunities have showed up into people's lives. And
or even just mentorship. You think about like, if there's someone that you look up to or that that is a little bit down the road from you, like same kind of thing, not just opportunity, but even investment in yourself and growth and learning from other people.
Yep.
Just give them a call.
Yep. I've said it before, like somebody took a chance on me years ago, and
look how that worked out.
Look at me now. Cow. Wow. But it's a very real thing. And I think, I was telling Nikki when she was, I don't know if it was Nikki or somebody else that I talked to last week, but I was just like, I used to look at my dad was a youth pastor, all growing up through junior high and high school. And I used to like look at the relationships that he had, and I'd be like, how do you know this many youth pastors, and like from random churches in Iowa and Ohio, and just like I didn't understand it. And now as I have gotten older and I've built relationships, and I go, oh yeah, that's how they do it. It's just like, oh hey, I did a conference with you 5 years ago. I did blah blah blah, whatever it is, and the amount of opportunities and like truly just like great relationships that come from that.
It's just time, man. The difference was
time.
That like
it's time.
He had lived so many more decades than you,
correct, at
the time, and then our relationships you pick up in that that amount of time can be significant, and you have the opportunity to steward them well.
Yeah, we should have my dad on the podcast.
Oh, I think that would be fantastic.
I need to ask him because he called me, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and he's like, so I've been listening to your podcast. And I was like, seriously? And anyways, it would actually be a really good story to talk about if we can get him on here. But
I'm sure his schedule is wide open.
I don't know. He's a busy guy.
Yeah,
he's a very busy guy.
Yeah? I don't know.
He's busier than me.
That's impossible.
Yeah,
that's not true.
I would love to think so, but
Yeah.
we'll get you on, Dad. Anyways,
that would be great.
Well, as we wrap up, I'm very excited for what's next in the season.
Yeah.
We don't know where it's going, just like we didn't know where the last 2 seasons go. We love your feedback.
Yep.
Hit us up on Instagram, Sunday's Coming Podcast,
Yep.
at Sunday's Coming Podcast, or send us an email at hello@sundayscomingpodcast.com. We would love to, hear the things that you're hearing and or would like to hear or not want to hear anymore.
Yep.
And
I'd be happy to not talk about blueberry coffee ever again.
Hey, man.
That'd be fine with me.
Until you try it.
Yeah, we'll see.
I will buy you some.
Do it.
We don't have a Keurig here. We should get a Keurig.
No, we should not. No, we should not.
Yeah. And
yeah, it's going to be a great season. Great conversations.
It will be good. So
excited for our next episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
So coming next week will be a awesome episode with Becky Ikema.
Yep.
And she, when that conversation was great. And her, I don't know if, she mentions it in the episode, so I won't mention it now, but the title of something she's writing and been at some very, very, very large churches. And as a female worship leader, her experiences, both good and not good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're going to dive into that conversation a little bit next week. And we're excited for you to take a listen. So stay tuned and we will see you guys next week.
Great. All right.
See ya.